הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
So Patrick, are we back up and streaming again? Awesome.
All right.
Welcome to the other 150 people that are watching from out there. We're so glad to see all of you live. We turn our prayer books to page 8 at the bottom of the page. We'll continue now with our family prayer. May we never take for granted the gift of Shabbat as we sit nestled in the Rocky Mountains, sharing this humble moment with family and friends. May the satisfaction of celebrating Shabbat hearten our spirits. Let Shabbat peace bring quiet to our souls. Allow this time set aside for song and prayer. Bring us closer together in thoughts and deeds. The space we share become our place of devotion, glowing with reverence and filled with our traditions. May the end of this week encourage us to examine our actions. And let us look ahead toward the new week. We'll be worthy of all of God's blessings. Continue the top of page 8 as we welcome the angels of peace and join together Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Arriving in Jerusalem, the pilgrims lifted their eyes to the mountains, and for the first time, they saw the holy temple, and they cry out in unison, "From where does my help come?" And God answered with a singular voice, "My help comes from God." Esainai, the top of page 12, as we continue.
Esainai el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Esainai el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, עושה שמיים וארץ, עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ.
And it's not just living here in this beautiful valley, but it's taking care of it. We have this wonderful reading at the bottom of page 15 that talks about our covenant with God. As we live amidst the trees, streams, and mountains of Vail, we pray for the care and healing of the earth so that present and future generations may enjoy the fruits of creation. God made a covenant with Abraham and Sarah, blessing them and their descendants throughout the generations. We teach our children to love Judaism, to honor and carry on our traditions, laws of the Torah, and our legacy that may continue. Moses and the children. Giving our people the 10 Commandments and challenging us to choose a life of goodness. May each day be filled with kindness, honesty, integrity, and righteous acts, so we may be filled with the promise of those covenants. The top of page 14. We join together Shiru Ladonai.
Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Me'yom Le'yom, Yeshuato. Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Me'yom Le'yom, Yeshuato. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Me'yom Le'yom, Yeshuato. Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Me'yom Le'yom, Yeshuato.
And that's what makes our Shabbat service so easy and calm with everything we do. Instead of choreographing everything, the cantor just has to walk over and go, poing. And then we know there's a different song we're going to sing tonight, which makes it so easy for all of us. Well, let's now travel back to the 16th century, to Tzfat, the center of Jewish mysticism, which I'm going to be talking about in my sermon. Lecha Dodi, as we welcome the Sabbath bride, page 16.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'meichad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litchila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, Ki hi mekor ha'baracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha, Rav lach shevet be'emek halacha, Behu yachmol alaychem la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala Panei panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei panei Shabbat nikabela.
The bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam besimcha uvetzala Toch emuneh am segula Boi chala, boi chala La 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 Chadodi likrat kala Panei panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei panei Shabbat nikabela.
May be seated. The top of page 21 for Psalm 92, it's a beautiful psalm that talks about how in Jerusalem all the different instruments and music was being played in the temple of that time. It's one of the oldest psalms that we sing, known also as the Song for the Sabbath Day. Let's continue responsively the top of page 21. It's good to give thanks to you, O Lord, to praise your name through song, to speak in the morning of your loving kindness and your faithfulness each night. Music of the lute and the harp, the melody of the lyre. I'll sing with my delight as we continue the bottom of page 20.
Tzadik katamar yifrach ke'erez bavanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim vera'ananim yehiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatavor.
Page 23, we've been reading responsively for many years now, just for today, which goes back to 1921 in the Boston Globe, from the article Dr. Crane Says. And I really would like to go back to the microfiche and see what else he had to say, because this is the only one which we ever talk about. But he had a regular Dear Abby column. So whoever isn't holding the baby gets to do the reading. There you go. 23.
Just for today. Just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problem of life at once. Just for today, I'll be unafraid of life and death, unafraid to enjoy the beautiful and be happy. People are happy as they make up their minds to be. Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today, I'll be agreeable, cheerful, charitable, do my best, praise people for what they can do, not criticize them for what they cannot do, and if I find fault, I'll forgive it and forget it. I'll try not to prove nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I will get people off my nerves and not get on theirs. I'll appreciate them for what they do and what they are.
Just for today, I will not show if it hurts my feelings, or if my feelings are hurt.
Just for today, I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, to realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God and get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will give Solomon the microphone. I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the wonder of it. I will know that as I give the world, so the world will give to me.
You almost made it.
And the good news is kids get to use the microphone here, so
Right.
you're all set.
We turn to page 24 and rise. We'll continue with our call to worship. Join together in the Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. May be seated as the cantor continues, the middle of page 26.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
As we continue with the oldest fixed prayer found within Judaism, page 30, as we'll join together in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'otecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinatam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'beitecha, u'lechtecha v'derech, shachbecha u'humecha, kshartam le'ot al yadecha, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And there's so much for which we are grateful. Top of page 32 will continue with gratitude. As the sun sets slowly behind the mountains of Vail, we gather together, appreciative of the many gifts we enjoy. With this Shabbat, amidst the peacefulness of these surroundings, let us no longer focus on that which we desire, but rather upon what we already savor, the quietness of the creek and the soft mountain air. We thank you each day for health of body, mind, and spirit, and let our daily actions reflect our gratefulness for our lives every moment with every breath. As we recite our prayers surrounded by family and friends, let us joyfully lift our voices in song, grateful to God who has given us the blessings of Shabbat. We continue the middle of page 32.
Yai lai lai la lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Ya lai la lai lai yai lai ya la lai. Yai la lai lai ya la 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 lai. Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha netar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Ya lai la lai lai yai lai ya la lai. Yai la lai lai ya la lai lai lai.
Well, on this Shabbat evening, we seek peace and comfort to shield us from hatred and destruction that plagues so many corners of the world, and console those in need as we continue the top of page 34, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malakeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malakeinu lechayim. Ushmor tzeiteinu uvoleinu lechaim ushalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'amidenu malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'amidenu malkeinu lechayim.
And as we read in the book of Exodus, in 6 days the Lord created the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he ceased from his work and rested. Page 36 at the bottom of the page, V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
There are those in our community who are in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. If you have a person in your life in need of healing, please feel free in just a moment to share their names aloud as we move about the sanctuary. Page 38 at the top of the page, we join together Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
As we offer our blessing for healing for Carolyn Anel, Emil Anel, Lynn Ambrose, Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Linda Colin, Blanche Deutsch, Lynn Deutschman, Sarah Jane Drescher, Carol Ann Finn, Jane Friedman and Steve Friedman, Betty Ann Gaynor, Don Gerstein, Deborah Goldman, Cliff Goldman, Don Graubert, Mike Herman, Ken Imler, Donald Jaffe, Harriet Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, Skip Clowens, Herman Keek, Brian Kushner, Renee Levine, Renee Myers, Stephen Reese, Daniel Rosen, Chip Ruth, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Bernie Shavitz, Ann Sheldon, Bill Silvers, Dina Stempler, Mark Strauss, Maury Strauss, and Alan Tenenbaum. Thank you.
Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor habracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Turn to page 40 in our prayer books and rise. We'll continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
And Mark and Ella are going to lead us in Reader's Kaddish today.
And they knew that you were going to be doing this.
Oh, yeah. They knew it way in advance, way before 3 seconds ago.
Yitzkada v'yitkada shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divra kirute ve'almik malchute.
V'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'v'zman kariv.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, le'alam olam me'omaya, yitzbarach, yitzbarach v'yishtabach.
V'pa'ar v'roma v'naseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitaleh. Shemei dekucha.
Brichu.
Le'elamin kol verhata v'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma.
Ve'imeru.
Amen.
Thank you. And before we go on any further, I apologize for those who are in need of healing. There are some of those who are in the hospital having surgeries, and they asked their name not be mentioned, but we still offer blessings for them. And it went on to 2 pages, and I missed Rita Weinstein, Tevi Wellens, Brian Wilson, and also Mickey Winokur. We offer our healing prayers for all of them. We'll continue in our prayer books now on page 42. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Continue page 42 and then silently for page 57.
Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai.
Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Hear my prayer, and may my prayer be worthy of being heard. Yula Ratzon, page 56.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי צורי וגואלי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי צורי וגואלי.
Well, I didn't know we would have a guest from the Netherlands. I'm glad you're with us today. Because while touring Amsterdam, it's only a few weeks ago that out of the blue, our guide used what I thought sounded like Hebrew when he was speaking Dutch. He was buying some tickets and he ended the transaction by saying tof. And I thought, that strangely sounded like Hebrew word tov, or good. And apparently there's over a dozen Dutch words that come from Hebrew. Well, back home, I find it surprisingly amusing when I'm listening to news commentators comfortably using Yiddish words like they'll tell us that the president was just schmoozing with a senator, or someone is truly a maven when it comes to international affairs. Parents from seemingly every culture that are doing carpooling while they're schlepping their children. And everyone seems to know the definition of tush. But in most cases, these words, among other words, well, they're appropriately used linguistically correct. But I wanted to take a minute to talk about another Hebrew word. It's commonly just tossed around today, and it's Kabbalah, or they say Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. Now, while the other Yiddish words, they're used all over Hollywood, you hear them on the news, and it's slightly amusing. But what doesn't make sense to me is when people, Jewish and non-Jewish, are so comfortable throwing around the word Kabbalah. Well, referring to what they truly don't understand as the essence of the word. Well, in the early 2000s, it was rare to see celebrities like Madonna, Ashton Kutcher, and Lindsay Lohan without that little piece of red string that they would put around their wrists. And the bracelets signaled, supposedly, that they followed the mystical teachings known as Kabbalah. So whether it's a thin red string bracelet or that so-called course of study that some would take, Kabbalah is not really what people believe it is. Now, some define Jewish mysticism as the losing of oneself in a spiritual connection to that which is unbound and unfettered. And I don't even understand what I just said. All too often, those who dabble in Kabbalah, well, they close their eyes and their ears to the world. They can imagine, they say their soul is rising to a new height of spirituality. Well, these people seek, they say, that which is beyond the boundaries of imagination and literally leaving the physical world in the dust. Well, the rabbis said that the misunderstanding of Kabbalah is nothing less than dangerous. So it's described by our 3rd century rabbis of the Talmud, and they said, those who lack misunderstanding and those who lack maturity misunderstand mysticism. They misunderstand it as if there's permission to elevate oneself above others. They disdain the rules of society that are meant to harmonize humanity. to nurture care and respect amongst creatures, and most of all, to give and live this moral and well-grounded life. That was the 3rd century. Now, I never studied Kabbalah in rabbinical school. It was rarely offered, but they always gave us this one book. It was by Gershom Scholem. It's the classic book on Kabbalah. But one of my professors in Jewish philosophy kind of hinted around the edges with this, and he warned us. He says the immature experiencing of Kabbalah is like, well, it's like admiring the clouds. They may be pretty from the ground, but they are nothing more than a whiteness of fog, while clouds the vision and offers no way to prevent you from falling and crashing to the earth. And that's why I was a Bible major, because I never understood what they were saying in philosophy classes. But the Hebrew word for Kabbalah, it comes from the root kuf bet lamed. It means to receive or to accept, and that's when you really understand what it means. In the Talmud, the rabbis discuss the children of Israel receiving the law willingly, and they accepted it at Sinai. They accepted it to personally connect with God by taking the message of the Torah and then spreading it throughout the world. They spread it throughout to touch other lives, and their goal was to make the world a better place. Well, Kabbalah is this mystical message that explains your relationship with God, but it has to be grounded in the world of people. So spirituality, according to Jewish tradition, is the resolve to allow God's presence to flow through you. Spirituality allows God's presence to transform your inner self. It transforms all of us when we have this spiritual moment. It transforms us into kindness and patience and love, and especially forgiveness. All that comes from accepting a godly way within ourselves. So a true Jewish mystic is one who marvels at the process of growth, strengthening of relationships, and mysticism reminds us that spirituality, it only comes alive when we recognize that everything in life evolves. That Kabbalah doesn't rest on the laurels of we've always done it that way, or we've never tried it before. But instead, the true Jewish mystic, the true spiritual Jew, says, I'm going to take what's broken and I'm going to try to fix it. And I'm going to take what's not broken and I'm going to try to make it better. And that's spirituality. Well, since we have so many announcements and I could never get them right, I'm going to call upon the president of the congregation, Stephen Wellens, and you can start telling us all the great things that are coming up.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody watching us from all over the world. We're so happy to be here, and we're thankful that you can all share this evening with us. We've got a lot going on. I know it's the beginning of spring, almost, more or less, but we have Passover right around the corner. And there's a brochure, and there's also stuff on the newsletter talking about a Passover Seder kit to go for your family. It feeds 6. It's got everything you need, just about. Please reserve early. We have a limited supply, and we need to pack them and get them ready. So please call Jeannie or email Jeannie and sign up for your Seder kits. As we think about what's happening, we've got Book Havaraz on March 21st. We've got April 20th. We've got June 25th is the Leadville Cemetery cleanup. It's back to its more traditional date, not on Father's Day this year. And I hope that you come out with your kids and your grandkids. It's an amazing experience to watch children go and clean up the cemetery and teach them a little bit about the history of Jews in Colorado, and I think it's a great opportunity. There's also a lot happening this summer, as you can imagine. Book Havaraz on July 31st. We've got the Fox Hunt. August 23rd, we've got the Nazi Billionaires, author David Zhang. We'll have a number of other speakers coming. We've got a partnership with the Vail Symposium on a couple of really interesting topics, and you'll see that, as well as Mountaintop Shabbats and Creekside. So if you're here for the summer and you're making your plans, get here early. Leave those Saturdays open because we've got a lot planned, and we're going to have a great, great summer. So Shabbat Shalom, and thank you to everybody.
Thank you. I couldn't top those notes if I had to. Thank you. I can only ask Janet, did I forget something? I know that we had to postpone last night's Book Havara because of the lecture on physics, which so many of you wanted to go and hear. Was it good? Okay. Well, next Wednesday we're having our Book Havara on the alchemy of air. And that's by Zoom for all of you that want to go. And you know what also I was thinking was so interesting about going to Leadville? Not just that it was your grandfather or great-grandfather that... Great-grandfather. That was an amazing experience last summer when you got to carry the Torah in his shul. Was just amazing. But if for those fans of Yellowstone and 1823 and all that, when you see that tree that they have and all the people that are now buried in that one spot, of course it's fictional, it just reminded me so much of when you go to Leadville. It's not just the cleanup. It's walking around the cemetery and seeing the people that had such short lives that it was incredible. Children that had died. And it's a really special experience, not just to clean up the Jewish cemetery, but to experience it all. And you were suggesting...
Well, I don't know. So the Porchlight Players Community Theater Company used to do some presentations in some historic cemeteries around Eagle County where they would dress up as somebody who had passed away and tell their story. And so I'm seeing if that is something we might potentially be able to do.
I think that would
if
be
not
interesting.
this year, then one year coming up at Leadville to tell the story of some of the people who are buried there.
We always hear those stories, but when we hear just one, we realize how special it is to be living here in Colorado. We're going to return to our prayer books on page 60. We'll rise and join together. Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shaveach l'adon hakol, lateit gedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance, for a link has been broken in the chain that bound us together. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind those whose yahrzeit we observe this month. Robert L. Bernstein, Helen Bronstein, Gladys Brodsky, Nancy Budd, Jacob Cantor, Ethel Cohen, Carl Dietz, Toby Dvorkin, Rhea Iyer, William Fishback, Jason Fleischman, Robert S. Fremont, Joan Frummer, Max Fermansky, Molly Futernick, Maurice Goldberg, Lily Grabowski, Irene Grossman, Bob Janko, Bernice Jenkins, Lee Kay, Mary Kent, Sidney Joseph Kern, Maxine Lando, Jack Leeds, Rita Lewis, Brandon Merritt, George Mintzer, Arlene Neperant, Doris Olch, Richard Peller, Gary Plotnick, Molly Raymer, Lester Reese, Victor Resnick, Bernice Resnick, Kurt Rosenbach, Irving Ross, Robert Rubin, Jim Sandberg, James Sandberg, Charlotte Schiff, Jenny Lou Schoolman, Arthur Shapiro, Marjorie Schoenholtz, Adele Siegel, Isidore Jack Silver, Charlie Slakowitz, Don Sosland, Dorothy Spector, Yetta Spiro, Norman Spitzmiller, Sheila Strauss, C.J. Tenner, Lillian Wagner, Dorothy Weiner, and Chester Parver. If anyone else is observing yahrzeit this month. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found in our prayer books on page 64, and those who wish may join with us as we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'galav v'zman kariv v'mramein. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach leolam u'meomaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu. Le'elamin kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, tamiran b'yoma v'imramein. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom b'imramav, uyaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. May be seated. Another one of our big programs coming up. It's impossible for Stephen to mention them all when we've got like 90 activities coming up in July, and you just have to read the newsletter. And if you see that it requires a reservation, don't say, I'll do it tomorrow, because then there won't be a tomorrow. So just make the reservation. But we have on July 16th the dedication of the Jerusalem Wall in the hospital, and it's going to be pretty spectacular to be able to be there for that first time. And notes are already being placed in the wall from some of the doctors and nurses that are visiting. Also, we're so glad, as we mentioned, we have between 100 and 150 people that get to watch us, maybe more, from Seacrest out in California to now I'm getting regular letters from Pearl Harbor, from Dan Bender, who runs the services at the Aloha Jewish Center. We're glad to have him watching, the Gaynors, the Goroblowskis. Steve Friedman is the first one to say, why did you change your sweater? And Bernie Shavitz is out there, and it's great to have him. And Steve Reese wanted to be here. I said I would say hello to you. He had a bit of a cold. Who calls to say I can't come to services because I have a cold? But that was really nice. So we're appreciative of everybody who's watching and all of you who came out tonight. We're at 11 o'clock this morning. We never thought we were going to have a service.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we have that. And now we have an amazingly special tune for Adon Olam that I have no idea what the cantor chose.
Yes, what is our amazingly special tune for Adon Olam tonight? What should we do Adon Olam to? It can be an Adon Olam tune or any song at all, pretty much. Okay.
Okay,
Love it.
very nice.
Love it. Love it. Love
Page
it. Love it.
66 as we join together.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'ed nasa b'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol Levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hove vehu yeh betifara vehu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshilo le'achbira bli reshit bli tachlit velo ha'oz ve'hamisra vehu Gali Betzor Chavli Be'etzara
Pastor.
Behuni si umanos
Scott.
limen at kosi beyom ekra Be'ado afkid ruchi Be'ishan ve'a'ira Ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
I'd like to thank Kathy, who set up for us today. Jeannie is a little under the weather, and we're so grateful to have you coming to bring all this out for us. And Pastor Scott, thank you for sitting through the service. It was a little bit of extra security, which we are grateful we didn't need. And we're just grateful to have you joining with us and being part of our congregation tonight. So thank you so much. We now rise for a closing blessing. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai avarech et amo v'shalom. May the Lord grant strength into his people, bless all peoples with peace. Amen, and Shabbat Shalom.
Baruch atah
Adonai,
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Borei
borei
peri
peri
hagafen.
hagafen l'chaim. Baruch atah
Adonai,
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
Shabbat Shalom.
Please enjoy some challah and wine and grape juice at the back of the sanctuary near the entrance. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, chiri biri biri bim, bam bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom.